walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. Not a future that will be, but one that might be. This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
I was born into a system constructed for failure. It's a sinking ship being manned by drunken sailors and escape artists behind the bars of a jailer. And it's asthmatic attack and they withhold the inhaler. If the shoe doesn't fit, what good is a tailor? In the midst of this crisis, please cancel the gala. Without a symphony, there's no need for a prelude to foreshadow what's to come. See, the secret committees commence with their meetings to make red tape in response to simple questions. Questions threaten the perception of a beneficial system, a pyramid scheme with its cogs and its pistons. Mechanization of man, making more and more living a miserable existence. How can so few claim so many victims? Raise the question. My arrest is a weapon against the oppression of man's obsession.
My conscience is captive to the word of God.
Our freedom is yours by right. It's in us, and in our actions on this day.
I don't believe in resistance.
I cannot and I will not recant.
Welcome to another episode of Roundtable Media, and we are doing our best to shine a spotlight on the deep state, to encourage hope and faith in Jesus, to help you love fellow man, and to restore a little vigor in your country. Welcome. Thanks for joining live, or if you're listening to the recorded version later, please take time to subscribe, to share this podcast far and wide. It is the best podcast in the land. We're going to start off reading a little scripture, and we'll introduce our special guest. Psalm 46, God is our refuge and strength, the very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice. The earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Well, I am excited. Today we have none other than Joey Phillips, who says that he is uninjected, unmasked, and unapologetic. Master of DNA and mapping the human genome, and master of epigenetics, and my awesome brother-in-law. Bro, I'm glad that you're here today.
Wow,
Welcome.
It's quite the introduction. I'm glad to be here, man. When you invited me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, I was just down there for Thanksgiving, and we had some good talks, and you told me you were starting this show, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man.
Well, so, I've been thinking a lot about it, because now that we got the podcast launched, I've been thinking a lot about it, because, man, bro, you are just a walking, talking encyclopedia. You use words that are not in my vocabulary, and you have become such a self-educated giant in alternative medicine, and it's cutting edge, and it's a little dangerous. it's a little dangerous, you know. I mean, where you walk, you know, we can talk about that, but what's been one of the most exciting things that you've been able to really see happen as you pursued this education?
It's been a ride, man. I've been at this for probably 10 years, and it's, you know, I used to look up to certain people and glean information from them, and it's really gotten to the point to where I don't really have anybody as a mentor.
Yeah.
I've gone way above and beyond what the typical standard education can offer. And so one of the most exciting things for me is breaking codes. This is essentially what I am, a code breaker. It's essentially what I'm a highly prolific researcher. I look at patterns held between all different kinds of subjects, from law, language, history, religion, science, all the way down to the microscopic biology that's held between us. And I think really what connects all of it together is the words that we use. I mean, when I started uncovering the secret language that's embedded into the naming of the genome, it literally opened up a whole nother realm of possibilities in connecting the dots on so many different subject matters. And
wow.
So I've become kind of obsessed with looking at the genome.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit about what you mean when you say you're looking at the genome and what you're seeing in the connectivity and how it's pointing you to understand how to deal with certain illnesses and ailments?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could start with the fact that I take clients and I don't use like your typical standard lab testing. For a long time, I wasn't even using genetic testing even. Just have the person tell me what's wrong with them. I used to test people a while back, but I discovered a set of databases really that told me everything I need to know about what's going on with an individual based on their symptoms and stuff like that. And so the term epigenetics comes into play, which is basically how the environment can impact the expression of your genes and then thus manifests itself into whatever disease the individual is presenting. And so it always has to do with how the environment, diet, lifestyle, exposure to, pandemic bioweapon type stuff.
Scamdemic.
I mean, really, it impacts the expression of your genes, and then it manifests itself in so many different ways. And the thing that I've come to learn is that you can have one issue manifest itself. You can have one thing that impacts you, let's say it like that will manifest itself in so many different ways in terms of manifestation of disease. And so they've codified these things. They've codified these things in order to basically more or less be able to figure out which prescription medication that the doctor needs to prescribe you. So it's all codified. So if you present these symptoms, they have a preset set of standards and conditions in terms of laboratory findings and things like that you fall into these parameters. Therefore, you have XYZ disease. Therefore, you need XYZ pill or, whatever it is. And so that's kind of how the system works. And the insurance companies are on board with all this. The entire medical system is completely flawed. They essentially got hijacked a long time ago, over 100 years ago.
The Flexner report, correct?
The Flexner report kind of lays that out.
Yeah.
And, before the Flexner.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that. So we have a guy who is back in horse and buggy time, who is conscripted by none other than Rothschilds,
JP Morgan, all those guys.
JP Morgan, to circumnavigate the country to ride around and go to the different schools, medical schools, hospitals, and local doctors, and encourage them to start utilizing the new pharmaceutical or lab-made dope in treating people exclusively, because there were all these petroleum waste, because there were all the other wings of recognized medicine, like homeopathic, naturopathic, herbalist, and these were all totally recognized fields of medicine. And so they funneled it all into MD, so that now today that's all we know, and they just dose the symptoms. Did I have that basically right, or do you fill in some blanks there?
Yeah, they co-opted the medical schools by dangling a carrot in front of them, saying basically, if you accept this money, we'll fund your entire program. The catch is we get to put a couple people on your medical board, and basically that turned into them rewriting the whole educational manuscripts and platforms in which the student learned. And so, I mean, you get 100 years into it, and the doctor, wants to help people. I mean, they want to help people, otherwise they wouldn't sign up to become a medical doctor. And I don't think they realize that the entire system is controlled by these money elites that don't have the best interest at heart for the people. There's no profit in curing disease. I mean, look at all these institutes that are, these foundations that people donate to. It's like throwing money away. They're never intending to cure anything, because there's no profit in it. So it's a sick care system based on a set of codes that you put into a computer, which then determines which prescription that individual needs. And so most of the clients that I worked with, they had already been through that, like 15, 20, 30 years of it. They started off with one pill. They got side effects from the one pill. So they need to take another pill for the side effects caused by the first. And then you have that snowball effect. It's like,
we have a listener here, Chris Milkey, says, health system, laugh out loud, buckle up. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a sarcastic remark here. There's so many people that are starting to realize we're being lied to by those who are supposed to be full of mercy and telling us how to get better. Can you expound a little bit on your clientele? I mean, are you even able to talk about that a lot, as far as like, I mean, I just say it, you've diagnosed and you have healed people, Joey. And that's
can't say those, because those are actually patented words. You can't say healed. No, literally, okay. They're patented.
You can't say them.
This is why you can't use these types of terminology.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this, because
what are we supposed to say, man?
Everything we say in this podcast is for informational purposes only.
Yes, it's only for informational purposes. Yeah. We're on YouTube, so
I have to give that disclaimer now, because everything has been hijacked. Even the words that we use is unfortunate.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well, hey, do you think that's some good things that come out of the scamdemic, the plandemic, is that more people are aware of these things?
I do think there's a lot of people waking up to the corruption that's taking place. There's a lot of things that are coming to light, and so what's being used for bad can be always turned around and used for good, even, and that's even biblical.
Well, are you able to talk about one of your more intense cases, and without naming names, obviously, and talk a little bit about something that you saw, like that you helped?
I remember this was a couple of years ago. I had a woman come to me for help. Her husband had shingles. Supposed to be not be able to cure this issue at all whatsoever. And so I did my mojo, that, you know, the stuff that I do. I researched it heavily. I figured out which genes and pathways it was most closely associated with. Then I turned around and reverse engineered it based on those pathways and figured out which natural compounds can modulate the expression of those genes and pathways. Right?
Yeah.
God's given us every plant-bearing seed for our healing. And I always have
Amen.
to say, anything that's done can be undone in the same manner in which it was done in the first place. And so, anyways, put them on this natural protocol, and in about a week, she messages me back and says it's completely cleared up. It's gone 100%. It's supposed to be.
Wow.
Supposed to be.
Now that's
not able
amazing.
to do that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
No, that's right.
I
Yeah,
see it all
that's
the
something
time.
that just, yeah, they say, well, you're just going to continue to have this here, take more of this medication.
Man, we came out with a supplement years ago, and this wasn't even planned. I had a client that come to me needed help, and she's like, "You got to meet this guy. I think you would really get along." So I reached out to him. His name's Adam, and Adam Ringham is one of my best friends. And we rolled out with this supplement called Reverse Effects, and I had intended for it to basically be able to mitigate any kind of side effects associated with untested biologicals. Okay, I'll just say it like that. You know,
or jabby jabs.
Yeah, the jabby jab with the jabby walkers. And so so we rolled out with that almost in tandem with the COVID that came out initially. And
I benefited greatly from that. I was just gonna say,
like
I benefited.
Pages of
that's a supplement is amazing. Do you really? That's
so
awesome.
That was a result of doing my due diligence and looking at the research over years and years and years of taking on clients. I'm about probably 100,000 hours in research at this point, man. I'm a prolific researcher. I read all day and night. I'm always curious. And so, anyways, we built this supplement. We're getting kids to talk again who couldn't talk, getting people to walk again who couldn't walk. I mean, it was just tears rolling down my face because of the joy that comes from that sort of thing, being able to help people. And so, you know, I've had people from all over the spectrum of issues. I mean, you name it. But I really started honing in on patterns. I started recognizing patterns in the body of which systems were coming up the most in relationship to how many different varieties of diseases that I was looking at. And I started recognizing this pattern that was coming up. And I determined that it essentially, you have a system in your body. The term is called glycoimmunology, and it's how sugars impact the immune system. So I kept on seeing these sugars popping up left and right, no matter what disease it was. It didn't matter what it was. And so I started researching heavily into that field of glycoimmunology, which essentially encompasses every disease you can possibly think of. But in terms of like the research out there, if you type in glycoimmunology, you'll find tons of cancer studies. You'll find studies on infectious diseases, and you will find tons of studies on autoimmune diseases. And so those are like the three main ones that you'll find. But it really encompasses all aspects of our biology, because you have like these sugar chains on the cell surface of every. Let me turn that off. Of every cell. And so it just led me down this like rabbit hole for years and years and years. And at this point, I've become a master essentially in that field. And so anything I do to help people always starts there. And so this is extremely relevant right now with the H5N1 coming out.
Okay. So let me, I want to, before we get into that, and we're definitely going to get way into this. I just wanted to, because I can hear the skeptics. Okay. So I want to get into a couple things here. Is that I have actually gotten to see the database that you built mapping the human genomes and how you can follow it from whatever they're telling you is wrong with them to what they need to take. Now, you did that by, and stop me any time. I have a question, but you did that by researching, finding the gene pathways that had already been, mapped, and then correlating those with, well, and this is where my vocabulary fails me, but other things, and understanding what they need to take. What is the disconnect if we've got people, we've got MDs that go to school for 12 years,
Yeah.
and now we've got someone who's done 100,000 hours worth of research that is levels above and beyond what they're doing, because you're dealing with root causes. If they've already seen these genes, they've already mapped them, they know what's going on. Twofold, like, where is the disconnect? Why are they not doing it? And have you been able to discover, build relationships with those that are?
Yeah, the work that I do, most of my clients these days are health professionals. They are naturopaths, holistic minded individuals who not only need help with themselves, but I do work with other doctors to help their clients even. And so the disconnect really comes at the level of education that's being presented. And that even goes into the naturopathic schools of medicine as well. They are simply they're not taught the information that I've been able to teach myself, really. They're not taught aspects of N-linked, O-linked glycosylation and terms associated with glycoimmunology and this type of thing. And, it's not really, that saying is like, it's not really what you know, it's who you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not smarter than any of these other people. Had they been given the opportunity to find out where the information is, they likely would be able to come up with the same conclusions that I have over all these years. The problem is we have an issue with what is being presented at the schools of thought, and the information that they need to learn to just not being taught. And so I often get, doctors and whatnot come to me because they've never heard or seen any of the information I'm presenting. So it kickstarts this curiosity in them. It's like, what does he know that I don't? Right. So it's like,
right.
And so I take the time and I, try to, teach them in a slow type of way, because it's, at this point, it's like I've gathered so much information over so much time, I forget how far ahead I am. But it's just baby steps, man. And everyone has access to this information. It's public domain. And so,
it's at the library. It's it's at PubMed.
Where they can go. I'll just tell everybody where you can go. It's called genecards.org. Genecards.org.
Mm-hmm.
It is a conglomeration of over 170 different databases, all merged into one.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most updated scientific research available on the internet because it's constantly updated. If there's a 2025 study that they've done on a gene or a pathway, it's inputted into this database. And so what's really fascinating about this database, so it's called the Weizmann Institute of Science, and it's located in Israel. The Weizmann Institute of Science. So a little bit of history. Weizmann was the first president of Israel. And if you go to the Wikipedia, a simple Wikipedia search on this, if you go to Weizmann and start reading some of his history, it says right in there, plain as day, that he was funded by the Rothschilds in order to gain his presidency. And so
wow. Yeah.
this Rothschild family is not just a new family on the scene. Their lineage. So I tracked their
No.
lineage.
Yeah.
I
They're
tracked
ancient.
this lineage of this ancient Rothschild family of the East, and their lineage goes all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia, with like the oldest recorded tablets and whatnot that we know of. And so when I started discovering that they're naming genes with strange names based on various mythologies and religions and whatnot, like I'll give you an example. There's a calcium gene. I was researching. I had a client that was dealing with like seizures or something like that, and I was looking into calcium voltage gated channels for seizures. And I came across a gene called ORIA1. It's ORIA.
ORIA1.
ORIA1. And so, boy, if you want to share it, I'll share my screen with you if you want. I'll show
go
you
for
right
it.
now. So this gene,
I will say we're getting a lot of feedback from your mic. Just if you, I guess we probably can't move it now. Just don't hit it, I'm getting a lot. Well, now see, I guess when you stop, but I'm getting my feedback from my voice too. So I don't know if you can do anything too much, or don't worry about it too much. If there's nothing we can do about it, it's not too bad. But if you move on the desk at all, it really picks it up. But anyway,
can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I can hear you. Yeah.
So
yeah. Go ahead. You should be able to put your screen up, and I can share it. You should be able to put your screen into the back office there. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
So yeah, I'm on the gene cards here. So check it out. So I was scrolling through, and I like to read all this stuff down here, but I came across this little miscellaneous note down here. And
what does it say?
Can you see that?
Not very well, but read it.
In Greek mythology, the Oria, the keepers of the gates of heaven, the Unami, order or harmony, and Dike, justice and Irene, peace.
Okay.
And so
Dipe, D-I-P-E.
D-I-K-E, Dike.
Oh, okay.
So they're calling this gene, they're naming this gene after some Greek mythology, and saying it's the gate to heaven. And so I started coming across genes like this left and right after that. Like the whole world opened up to me. Like you go look up what the Oria are in Greek mythology.
No, it's fascinating. I mean, you've shown me some of this before, and they're having a hard time seeing it. But for audio purposes, we're looking at these pathways that have already been named, and many of them, the names are so very specific to their functions. And it's just it really is phenomenal, Joey, what you've discovered. Because didn't you find, what was the one, the God gene? There were so many.
Here's another one, Clotho. Right? They did a study on Clotho here. And when you upregulate Clotho, they did the study on mice. When you upregulate this gene, it increased the lifespan of the mice like exponentially. And so they named this gene after the another mythology, the Clotho, the three sisters of fate. So she was the one who spun the thread, right? Decided when to cut the thread.
Okay.
And so you'll find these like they're naming all these genes after like all these ancient religions and stuff like that. So that was another really cool thing that I was able to glean.
Well, yeah, and it's not just cool, like it helps you, right? Like it helps point you into these directions you want to go, and to be able to use this information to understand how to fix the problem.
Well, if they're naming genes after ancient mythologies and stuff like that, they got to be pretty important, right? So
Yeah,
that's kind
I
of
would
my
say.
train of thought is that
Yeah.
if they're taking the time, and it even gets even a little bit hairier than that when they start naming the aliases. They'll name a gene some like weird name, but then they have an alias section, and in there they'll encode little secret hidden messages based on the etymology
Of the
of
word.
the alias.
Yeah.
And that's where the real nuggets are. So I've been doing this for a while now, and I'll tell you what, man, there's an ancient secret hidden code embedded into the naming of the aliases in the genes.
Oh, I think
when
that's
you start looking at the
very plausible.
etymology of the genes themselves,
Yeah.
it gets pretty wild, and it really unearths. It'll even lead you to different plants and herbs and different compounds that you can use just by looking at the etymology of the alias, even. And so it's been really nice. I've been having people want me to write a book about this for years now, and I'm just like, where do I even start? It's like, holy crap. There's a lot of data there, but
I'm sure you could.
I'm a prolific researcher, and I like to know kind of how things work. And so, when I discovered that that the immune system, the innate immune system, controls everything in the body in terms of the glycoimmunology aspect, and I started honing in on the networks involved with that. I found it to be useful because you can literally cover like a blanket so many different ailments and diseases just by targeting a few different pathways associated with how sugar chains. And that's the thing is, like, I look back and I'm like, well, why don't even any holistic practitioners understand how sugar chains work? They're just not taught this stuff. So, I look back and it's like, I see that sugar has been demonized over years and years and years. Your body needs like 8 essential sugars. There's actually more than that, but your body needs at least 8 foundational different types of sugars. And I'm not talking about like your run-of-the-mill sugar that you go buy at a store, like cane sugar. And I'm definitely not talking about like stevia, stuff like that.
What about like pure organic maple syrup?
Well, there's different types of you got to understand, like maple syrup has a chemical composition to it, right? And that's one thing. I had a PhD in
I know you're well, so I know you're talking about body sugars. My understanding was that maple syrup, its composition is almost perfectly aligned with your body sugars.
Your body honey has a lot of different types of sugars in it. But I'm talking about like sugars, like sugars like mannose, inositol, galactose, fucose,
understood,
xylose, and then you can even take it a step further, and then you start moving into the realm of like polysaccharides and oligosaccharides. Anything that has a saccharide on the end of it is going to be good for you. Even burnt sugar. Go look up the health benefits of burnt sugar. You'd think it would be like carcinogenic, but it's actually extremely beneficial for you, which actually kind of makes me hungry for some creme brulee right now. Right? That's like the French.
One of my favorite desserts right there, dude. I'm doing the carnivore thing right now, so I can't have any of that. So please don't talk about sweets.
But that's
I love creme brulee.
Completely taken out of like the typical standard American diet is like the fibers and the starch and things like that. That these are essentially essential carbohydrates. That's what
the good kind. Yeah. I mean, you think about there's how many people now are kicking back wheat, and that never used to be a thing, and it's because of a certain conglomerate, a giant chemical company has taken over the entire world supply of grain, and now people are allergic to gluten.
Yeah,
and I think that's a
there's
big
the glyphosate and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
the
the
glyphosate,
food,
yeah, it's
like
bad.
food is the foundation, right? So like, if your food is all poison, like what do? It's like you got to move out to BFE and start your own garden, which is kind of what I did. I
Well,
wanted to make sure I knew how to grow my own food and
it
make
works.
sure that it's like foundational, So
And it tastes better too.
yeah, but it's like
No.
the diet's where it all starts, and if the diet is completely poison, what do? I mean, look at other nations. Most of the stuff that is presented to us as food in the United States is banned in other countries. They won't even allow it there. And I hear things are going to change. Who knows though? Let's see it. It's just like,
That's right. Yeah, we
I'm
don't
not
know.
down with all the rhetoric that politicians spit out of their mouth just to make us all feel better, so that we all sit back down instead of, storming the castle. It's like the ancient Romans, they figured out a long time ago, if you just put the gladiator games up, then the bread and circus, then that'll quiet the riots down. So they like to tell us
that's what scares me.
What we want to hear, but the proof's in the pudding. Like, let's see it. So they can talk a good talk all they want.
Yeah, but we're I feel like we're in that interim. I mean, there is kind of that hush right now. We're a few days away, from the inauguration, but man, you and I, we've seen a number of presidencies, and none of them ever changed anything. Even the sacred cow, old Ron Reagan was heavily involved in Iran Contra and bringing cocaine into the
attempted murder
slums
against him when he put out there was a report that he put out. He wanted to find out where all of our money, all of our tax dollars, every cent was going, where it was going.
Sure.
And he was
they tried to shoot him.
He was shot right after that.
Yeah, and he coined the phrase, "You missed." And they reused it for Trump. And that's, it's like this, and I always say this, like, as we see liberty and truth and freedom and the beautiful picture of liberty, like, it's always going to be paralleled by evil and wickedness and trying to piggyback off of it. Parasite being a really good term, and it's always there. Plus, men, are depraved, and we mess up, we fall down, and by that I mean men and women, and so Reagan, made some bad decisions too. It's just that I really do mean overall we've never really seen a shift away from the manipulation of freedom in this country, and to turn us all into basically cash cows and food bags for the rich.
Well,
and so we're kind
of like Christ, he overturned the tables, in the temple
for the money changers.
The temples, those are the money changers. Those guys have been in control for a very long time, brother.
And they were selling bad goods, so
defacing the value of the currency.
Yeah,
boy, it sounds familiar. Right?
Not this
system. Look at how DC,
not this time, did he?
Even the architecture in the United States, it's all built off Rome. I mean, it's a spitting image of Rome. Even the court systems.
I wish it was that good.
Yeah, right.
The architecture, No, I mean, I know. I think that that was actually going around a lot. Like what men are thinking about Rome. That it was kind of a joke, like, what I'm thinking about Rome. But we see all of these similarities, and one of the scariest ones is bread and circuses. You mentioned that. Give the masses bread and circuses. What does that mean? Well, we put them all in the amphitheater and the Parthenon, and we give them shows and we give them good eats. And so, today we have all the sports and football and we have all of just the smorgasbord of entertainment. And now we have, kind of the new savior being toted out. And this has always been the MO. They shuck one down and they bring another one out. It's just that things are different, and we're either going to see an actual change as far as for the people, like Trump likes to talk about, or we're not. And so, I don't know. We've got, hey, let's make America healthy again.
I'm not holding my breath. I'm not waiting for anybody to make a move.
No,
and this,
you got to do
is
it.
really what it's all about. Is
do yourself.
I don't know if you've ever had the chance to read "Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars."
No, I have not.
If you have not read that, you can even go look it up on YouTube. They got a video of it, of a guy reading it, if you're too lazy to read. So
okay,
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying a lot of people like to hear the audio.
I love Audible, dude. I love Audible, man.
I highly suggest everyone go read that. The very first part of that whole book is about how to control societies based on economics. And so if you want to know what the real matrix is, the real matrix is called the FAR matrix, Federal Acquisition Regulation Matrix. You can literally go pull it up. That is the matrix, and it was built by Leontief Matrix. That's the guy's name. He's a mathematician. He won some prize for it. And he built an equation. It's a 84 by 84 quadratic equation on how to determine if, like, for example, I buy a jug of milk in Idaho, what is that transaction going to do to the market in China, right? It's that detailed. And he pinpointed what that fluctuation would look like. And that's how they built the actual that's the real matrix, is what the real matrix. It's called the Leontief matrix. You can go look them up on Wikipedia. And the FAR matrix, Federal Acquisition Regulation.gov or whatever it is. It's an actual government website you can go to, man.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
I believe it.
But in that book, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, the whole first part of that book is essentially referencing that matrix. But in the second part, it talks about the political dependency of a nation, and it gets down to the individual even. And it talks about how most people, they really don't want to take responsibility for anything. They would rather go hire a bunch of government hitmen to do the dirty work for them so the blood isn't on their hands and not think twice about it. And this document is supposedly written. Nobody knows who wrote this document. Supposedly it was written by some ex-CIA guy or whatever. I don't know. But it's so good because it talks about the political dependency of a nation and how government control systems are kind of implemented up onto a people, and it's a welfare state. Really, it's offering people, dangling the carrot in front of them, taking care of all their problems for them. It even talks about feeding them a chicken dinner and slapping them on their ass and telling them everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's
that's bread and circuses.
It's basically, we didn't really have those kind of systems back in the day. It was kind of like this tribal thing where people took care of each other. It's like, if I had 2 coats and you had none, I'd give you one. I wouldn't go, lobby some part of the government to raise taxes so that I could pay for the guy's coat. You know what I mean? We just helped each other. It was based on charity. It wasn't based on a welfare system. And there's a quote, there's the big print giveth and the fine print taketh away. And that, he who seeks safety over liberty deserves neither. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but you get the point. And it's we've gotten this place now where we've become so solely dependent on on hierarchical systems to take care of us individually, and that spans all aspects of every part of our life today, even into the
Well, you
medical
couldn't be
field.
more right. You couldn't be more right. I found the full quote. It's attributed to Juvenal. He was a Roman poet, and that phrase bread and circuses, or bread and games, in Latin is panem et circenses. But the full quote from around 100 AD says this: already long ago, from when we sold our vote to no man, the people have abdicated our duties. For the people who once upon a time handed out military command, high civil office, legions, everything now restrains itself and anxiously hopes for just two things: bread and circuses.
Yeah.
Please, just give me a little more of that good
Just
stuff.
take care of me.
Give me
I don't
some
wanna
more.
deal with it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, give me some more Disney and some Mickey
Yeah.
D's.
Boy, I saw this
suck
video
it
the
up.
other day with the Disney cup with Mickey, the reflection
Oh,
on it. If you flip it upside
yeah,
down, it
you
says
flip it around,
Wicked.
it says Wicked. Yes, it does.
Oh my goodness, man.
Dude.
We've been hoodwinked, man.
We've-
I mean, really.
No more,
We have
no
been.
more Diddy. No more Diddy.
No more
That's
Diddy.
enough. That's enough.
So I mean,
I'm sick of it, bro.
Yeah.
I am so sick of the lies and the subterfuge and the manipulation. And Christians just sit around and go, well, it's just the ultimate war. It's just, we can't really help it. That happens and how many times does it have to be said? This ain't Nero. Like, we've literally been given a really cool system of freedom drawn from scripture, and it's okay to stand up and say, by your own conscience, no, I'm not going to that war. Yeah. I don't agree with this stupid stuff. And man, we're seeing a lot of cool things happen that I don't know where we're going to go. But, one guy, Marcus Pittman, he's up here in Northern Idaho, man, he has built a Christian film network that is like super excellent. And it's only gaining more steam and momentum. But that's the kind of thing we need to see. And guys like yourself, that are just pursuing true medicine. I mean, the sky's the limit because we still have some freedom left. So that's neat.
Yeah, we gotta be diligent. I mean, we're told to test all things, man, and that we perish for lack of knowledge. Those two scriptures right there, everyone should like internalize that. Like, embed it into your dome. Like, get it into your brain. Don't take anyone's word for it. Like, test everything. So,
no, but but they say, oh, knowledge puffs up. Knowledge puffs up. Was Paul puffed up? Was Peter puffed up? Was Jesus puffed up? It's fake.
And the
it's false.
The scribes.
Knowledge. Yeah. Like, use some discernment, man. Like, we want to know stuff. We don't want to be lied to. Like, and I grew up with G.I. Joe. Knowing is actually half the battle. So knowledge is power. Well, get it. Don't be afraid of it. And, we are speaking to the evangelical right a lot of times because the issue lands at the door of the church sometimes, who's been very complacent. We've seen it down through history. So, this fight is for real, and the enemy is real. And there's been a lot of these dark, twisted things that have been exposed, and it's frightening.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, knowledge isn't power. I mean, you could know everything, but you could still be afraid. I mean, fear will cripple a man, and that's constantly pumping that out into the system. But it's knowledge with applied action is power. And so you could know everything and still do nothing. I mean, it takes.
That's true.
The only thing it takes for an evil system to prosper is for good men to do nothing. Really. So
Pamela says it's a war on our conscience. She said consciousness, but it's and And knowledge with wisdom. That reminds me of a quote. Knowledge, how's it go? Knowledge teaches, wisdom watches.
Yeah.
And these are simple things that we can apply and get better, do better, guys. We have a shot here at this time in this place as we watch Gen Alpha come up. I'm excited for them. And what's next? It's frightening, but look, I'm not going to be the guy that has the kid that says, Dad, why didn't you do something?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do something. When we went out and we would go places during the scamdemic, I wouldn't put on the mask. And where I lived, we could vote with our feet a little bit. Now everybody had that opportunity, but the kids were crying. Like, Dad, please put on a mask, because it was a birthday. We were supposed to go see a movie. And I didn't. And we left. And I felt bad, but I said, I was like, hang on. And we went to another place, and the theater, I still patronize them regularly with smiles, because none of them were wearing a mask, and they just welcomed us all in right in the middle of it all. Yeah. And we just walked in, and the kids were like, wow, and it was good. It was a good thing for them to see that. But everyone can do their own part, and it matters to stand against this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're coming here to the end of the hour, and I want to.
Well, look at all I just want to add something to that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look at all the nurses that stood their ground.
Yeah. Oh man.
That got terminated from their jobs, lost their livelihoods because they refused the vaccine.
Yeah.
And now they're winning lawsuits.
Yeah.
And getting compensated for that.
Yes. they're coming back. We're sorry. We're sorry. Yeah.
And they were laughed at, mocked.
Yep.
I mean, and now look, it's all coming out. All the studies that are coming out, the Pfizer papers, the Moderna papers,
the poisonous remdesivir. I don't care. I'll say it on
Naomi
YouTube.
Wolf and her team did a fantastic job at uncovering a bunch of the research and on exactly what was taking place and how they knew.
Oh yeah, Naomi Wolf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, she's awesome.
They knew what was happening, and they
you were talking about. So, and this all, it's like it was ripe for the picking. And I think for a lot of us, it was sad to see the country lay down for it. But you were talking about the medical establishment just being sold out, and you've got a picture, you've got a clip here up on your Facebook page. This is from the georgetown.edu, and it's an article where more than half of peer reviewers for 4 top medical journals received payments from drug and medical device manufacturers totaling $1.06 billion with a B from 2020 to 2022. And you said what trust the science means. Using discernment is paramount. And it would be fair to say that quite possibly the majority of what your doctor practices is based on legalized fraud. When students go through medical school, they are approached by the drug pushers, the sales guys for Pfizer and all these other organizations, really tied under the one umbrella of a few families, and they're given incentives. You can strive for this car, for this trip to Bora Bora, whatever, if you sell this much dope. If you can push, our next experimental drug, and I've got friends right now that have been given experimental drugs instead of the surgery they needed. And I don't know if he's going to be willing to be on the show, but we might. It's so maddening. And I know you've seen it. And, these are real souls, man, image bearers that they're killing without a care in the world, or just turning them into the food bag so that just keeps, the cycle going, like diabetes or whatever it is, even a simple thing like heartburn. They just keep you going on it. So you need more dope.
Yeah.
And when people rise up, to actually create real medicine, they are demonized, shunned, or, God forbid, approached by the FDA, who carry guns, by the way.
Well, vaccine sales are down because people are starting to figure out what the mRNA
well, that's good.
did. So they're doubling down on cancer therapies. That's where they're making their profits right now.
Right. And lo and behold, people are sicker than normal because they took the Jabberwocky.
The all across the board, it's like 3, 4, 5, 600% increases all across the board of every disease.
Yeah. Chris says, I have dead folks from this system. We all have suffered from it.
Create lifelong customers from one jab.
Yep.
So,
dude,
you know, I'm not, listen,
if we're not mad at
science of vaccine, if they were to put the correct compounds in there, okay, I've seen so much research it will make your head spin.
Yeah.
I've even got an idea for a formulation called IV effects that I want to bring to market.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's based on the same principle as bypassing the humoral immune response through the digestive system, where you would normally take something and going right and jacking it right into the bloodstream. It's no different than a Myers cocktail. Anytime you go to a holistic practitioner,
that's good. C, I had one of those.
Glutathione drip. But the formulation that I want to bring to market is called IV effects, based on glycoimmunological principles.
IV effects,
which is how they should be developing their technologies. And look, they know about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find the same exact research. So they know that there's another way to do it. And yet we find all of the harmful things added, aborted fetal tissue line, you know, it's just a freaking, and this is why your immune system rejects it. You can't put foreign DNA, right? If I go get a transplant, like a kidney transplant, I'm on medication to stop my immune system from attacking that foreign organ in my body.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And liver's the same thing.
You can't put foreign DNA into the blood, into the body, and not expect there to be some sort of side effect, you know? And so that's kind of how the body works. And so when you talk about mRNA, there's a system in the body. It's called reverse transcriptase and integrases and polymerases and a bunch of fancy scientific words for basically how RNA can retranscribe itself back up into the DNA. And there are studies now that show that the DNA has been altered. The genetic blueprint that God has given that individual, if they ever have children again, if they ever can have children again after they take it, I mean, because one of the things that was discovered in the Pfizer papers that Naomi put out was that they wanted to know if you were having intercourse, and they were strongly recommending against it during those.
Imagine that.
Those studies. And that's because there's a term called vertically transmitted infection, in which an infection can be passed down from the mother to the offspring. Well, it's no different than something that gets into your system and retranscribes itself back up into the DNA and rewrites the DNA. Now you're dealing with a whole other blueprint that's being passed on to the next generation. And so, and they tell you what they're doing all through Hollywood, man.
Yeah,
like,
they
even
do.
in the shows, like we're gonna do this, and the people are gonna line up for it. And our intention is not just to do XYZ, but to make the next 3 generations completely sterile. And this idea of eugenics goes back 100 years, and the idea of this fight against this whole subject goes back 100 years. Even you can go look up old newspaper clippings from like 1898. This isn't anything new. like people have been fighting against this machine for a long time, man. Like it's
Yeah, they
nothing
have.
new. Except they have
I think it
highly
would be further
sophisticated.
along.
Well,
Do you?
their systems of control of information have gotten so highly technologically advanced.
I think it would be further along if it weren't for
it is. I
strong
was going to share some
strong
stuff with you
men and women
tonight.
standing against it. No, that's
We
fine.
might
Hey,
have
tell
to
you what.
save-
Listen. Okay, this
We might
this
have to
is
save it.
awesome. Huh?
I was going to share some stuff with you tonight on
Yeah,
some of my
absolutely.
findings. But
So that's the first hour. We got a whole nother hour coming. We're going to get into a little bit about your backstory. We're going to get right into the H1N1. We're going to talk about a new possible pandemic that has already been laid out at the John Hopkins. I already did a video on that. We got to go to commercial, and we'll be back in just about a minute and a half. So watch this. This is from a good friend of mine who's a great media guy, everybody, and we'll be right back.
What makes a business a pillar in the community? Is it the products or services they offer? Or the people that greet you at the door or answer your call? Perhaps their reputation passed on through word of mouth. Here at Bowermaster Productions, we believe it's all that and more. And that the foundation of a successful business is built on the relationships they create in the community. We won't bore you with the grotesqueries of flashy adjectives or an overabundance of descriptive ways to call you to believe in us. We work to put the focus on you to make real human connection. We have an insatiable drive to help you share what inspires you and to help you remind the community that you're not just a supplier, you're a neighbor. With so much to say, we can't help but ask, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, what is a video worth? Bowermaster Productions. It's your story. Share the view.
Hey, get a quote today. That's Bowermaster Productions. Brian Bowermaster. What a name, Bowermaster. But he is awesome. He has just been doing so much for us, and he loves Jesus. He's a lot of fun, and he can really put a good ad together for you or whatever you need. He does all kinds of stuff. So anyway, glad to be able to partner with him. And so for this last hour here, we're going to get into nefarious agendas. We're going to talk more about what's going on. What I want to talk more about specifically the products that you have created. But Joey, you wrote something about yourself and about some of the things that you've been through recently. And you gave me permission to read this. I thought it was just really powerful. I'm going to do that, but I wanted to also start with just a little bit about like what I've been able to see, because it's been awesome. You know, I had the privilege of meeting your sister and joining the family as that was in 2010, and it was just an unbelievable meeting where it was totally a God thing. And we were looking at getting off the grid, and both came to a place in the middle of Oregon at seemingly random situation there. And Jolene didn't even want to be there. But and so we started talking, and I remember we were walking out across the land there to look at one of the guy's wells. He had like 900 acres, and we were talking about the all-seeing eye and the pyramid and the dollar bill and stuff. And you're like, yeah, my sister such. I was like, you're what? Your sister? And I was like, okay, hold on a minute. And we just hit it off, and it has been just an amazing experience to as God, you know, gave me a family and put my life back together. He's got beautiful kids, and to get to know you, to get to know your mother, your father, your brothers or sister. I mean, it's just awesome family. And one of the things that is prevalent about you is that you're very, very interested in finding out the truth of the matter. And I've noticed that, that as we kind of build our relationships and we've dug deep, and sometimes we've, come to a head on some things, but that's family. And hopefully iron sharpens iron. And so it's been amazing to see you build a homestead we'll just say in Idaho, and grow your own food, do amazing things, develop all of these supplements, and really put up a lot of food. You guys had put up a lot of food, and you built an amazing homestead, but unfortunately it was recently destroyed by fire. So I just want to read this short testimonial from you, a story of resilience and renewal, my journey into 2025. As the clock turns to 2025, I can't help but reflect on the incredible journey I've endured over the past year. It has been one of loss, growth, and transformation, a story of rebirth, rising from the ashes of hardship. And you have an AI here picture of the phoenix. Late 2023, moving into 2024, began with the devastating loss of my father, my closest companion and dearest friend. That heartbreak shook me to my core, but from it, I found purpose. I channeled my grief into building Core Health Energy, LLC, a company dedicated to helping others heal from their own health challenges. Watching it thrive and change lives gave me the strength to move forward. A few months later, I faced another trial. My beloved dog fell ill, and I had to make the painful decision to let him go. That loss taught me so much about animal health, inspiring me to create PolyGuard, a supplement for pets. Though it never reached the market, its development was a labor of love and learning. Then came July, and with it, the Gwen wildfire that wiped out my home, my father's gift, my sanctuary for 15 years. Losing everything was beyond comprehension. But even as the flames consumed my past, they also forged my resilience. I found solace in faith. I've grown closer to God, rediscovering a peace and strength I hadn't felt in years. Each of these trials has shaped me, teaching me lessons I couldn't have learned any other way. Am I glad 2024 is over? Absolutely. Would I change any of it? No. These experiences, painful as they were, have forged the unstoppable person I am today. As I step into 2025, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. I'm carrying forward the lessons of resilience, faith, determination into a year filled with promise and purpose. This year marks the official launch of Glyco Synergy LLC, a venture that I believe will transform lives. Some of the innovations I'm excited to share include Manna, the food from heaven, and full spectrum support miracle, Synergy, the sentinel of health with precision sugar lectin combinations for unparalleled wellness support, Core Dentine, revamped with cutting edge ingredients to support oral health like never before, Nano Defense, the ultimate detox and stress relief formula, targeting synthetic toxins and heavy metals for optimal health. In addition, my rebranded consultancy, DNA Determination Research Consulting, is set to launch a comprehensive educational course on countering health threats like H5N1. Alongside this, I'm developing formulas to protect our food supply and combat the unnecessary culling of livestock due to flawed testing protocols. I've had time to quiet my mind, reflect, and listen to the still small voice within. 2025 is going to be a year of transformation, not just for me, but for anyone connected to my journey. To everyone reading this, I hope you too find strength in your challenges and walk into this new year with renewed purpose. Be blessed, stay prepared, and walk in the spirit of the Almighty. Here's to a year of resilience, growth, and unshakable faith. Happy New Year. Praise God, my brother. I mean, you have been through a grip, man. Do you have anything to add to that, or things we're learning as we go into this year now?
Yeah, I've been, it's been a ebb and flow. It's just one thing after another, and that's typically,
Yeah.
I feel like Job a little bit. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
well, you can find solace in that. historical drama of the ages. God's with you through it.
It's been hard, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also been a humbling experience to go through all that. And I'm not the only one who has hardships like this. I believe they are put in our path to redirect us, to teach us, to guide us into new areas, and it's ultimately for our best. I've got this phoenix behind me right here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
And so, I've been able to really hone in on and channel a lot of this grief and heartache into positive things. And I really enjoy bringing things to market that actually work, that help people. The stuff that I do can't be duplicated by anyone else, really. And so it's like, I guess I'm the one. I've tried to bring some of these formulations to, bigger companies, and they can't do it because to bring them to market would cost too much money. It says my site can't be reached right now. Which one? Glycosynergy.com, glycosynergy.com, and then the other one's DNAdetermination.com. But I've been really working hard this last 2 weeks on putting a course out for H5N1. I've been seeing the writing on the wall for 3 months now at least. And it kind of started with the animals, really. And even over Thanksgiving, when I went down there, they're killing off a bunch of turkeys. I think one guy lost 2,000 turkeys, something like that. And we were calculating that guy must have lost like $2 million in profit. And it's not just him; they're literally culling entire flocks of animals. And so I feel like they're coming after the food supply. Really, they're projecting the cost of food to skyrocket.
Okay, so I did look at a little bit of that, and I was listening to was it Dr. Mercone, the guy that developed the mRNA? What's his name? He became a whistleblower. I gotta look that up.
Are you talking about the PCR test?
No,
that guy was a whistleblower too.
Yeah, he was too. Yeah. Basically, he was talking about the fact that when the birds, let's say a lot of chickens get the actual bird flu, it is very toxic to them, so much so that they have to kill them all, but it's not transferable to humans.
We call it zoonotic. Yeah, they call it zoonotic.
Yeah.
And so with the H5N1 for birds, it's easily transmitted to other animals. And the way that works, I'll briefly just take a minute and kind of explain some science on how that works a little bit, because I've been digging into this, putting the course together for people. And so it works on glycoimmunology principles, right? And so you have these sugar chains that
Malone. Sorry, Joey, I just got to break in. It was Dr. Malone, Robert Malone. I know you know who he is.
Okay.
Yeah, he's done a lot to expose what's going on. He was working directly with vaccines, but they took everything from him. They really tried to crush him because he was one of theirs. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's like that's what always happens. They segregate the individuals out in such a way where they're not able to communicate. You got one guy working on this project and the guy working on this project without ever really knowing what the ultimate goal is. And then once the person that figures it out, that was working on said project, figures out what the end goal was, then they blow the whistle and they're like, they didn't realize they were actually
they were compartmentalized,
highly
just like 9/11. Everybody's compartmentalized. They make it work.
But just to explain how how it's transmitted from animal to animal, and then how it's transmitted from human to animal. And it would take many, 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 many years. And a lot of people have called out the last pandemic with the conversion from the bat, how it jumped from a bat to a human, and how that whole process never had that amount of time to take place where it would naturally occur.
And it was patented.
And yeah, so you go look at the Fauci patents all the way back to like the 70s on this stuff. Even vaccine patents going all the way back then. This is a long game. This is not something that just like happens overnight. This stuff is goes way, way back. And so if you start looking at the history behind this stuff, you start seeing the big picture of what's actually taking place. But in terms of like how it works in like systems biology with animals, you have it's called sialic acid is the sugar receptor on the cell surface, right? All pathogens, doesn't matter what it is, viruses, bacteria, fungus, mycoplasma, it doesn't matter what it is. In order to gain entry to the cell, it has to bypass certain defense mechanisms that the body puts in place to distinguish self from non-self, really, right?
Yeah.
To be or not to be. That is the question, right? What's supposed to be here? What isn't supposed to be here? And they're really called pattern recognition receptors, pattern-associated molecular patterns, self-associated molecular patterns. These are all receptors, genes. Damage-associated molecular patterns. You got DAMPs, PAMPs, SAMPs, and PRRs, essentially. And so they all work through the field of the study of glycoimmunology, how sugars impact the immune system. Well, in the tippy top, they call them glycan chains, right? Sugar chains. Every cell has them, and they're like a dense forest that surrounds the earth, kind of, so to speak, on a macro type scale. But on a micro scale, every cell has these sugar chains that come off of the cell membrane. So the H5N1, in terms of animal transmission, the way it's able to transmit is through what they call the alpha 2,3 sialic acid linkage chain, and it's where the signal, essentially, how the virus attaches itself. It cloaks itself in a sugar shield, and then it attaches itself through what they call hemagglutinin, and it attaches itself to the cell surface receptor, and then it hijacks the sialic acid receptor. This works on every mammal, every animal, doesn't matter what it is. Even plants have these same systems. The plants use what they call C-type lectins. Anyhow, it's the alpha 2,3 linkage, okay? Alpha 2,3 sialic acid linkage that allows for the transmission from animal to animal. And it's through this linkage that doesn't allow it to be more transmittable from human or from animal to human, right? The zoonotic. Okay. Except
sounds divine. Sounds like providence.
Except when you start tinkering with nature.
Yeah.
And this is called gain of function research.
Gain of function. Yeah.
And it's
in the guise of trying to do something good, right? Like they're
let's make a highly weaponized, deadly virus so we can study it, so that if it ever happens, we can defend ourselves against it. Sounds like a good plan.
Wonderful.
You know,
they literally make movies about that. Like,
and then it gets released on an accident. But they make entire Hollywood themes out of this stuff. But it's through this gain of function research, they call it the PB2 protein. And let me see if I can pull it up. There's a link on the CDC website in Texas, which is where the first woman or the first person who died or who caught the H5N1 recently was, and they found the same exact gain of function protein, the PB2 polymerase basic 2 protein in her that they used back in the 70s with this gain-of-function influenza H5N1 research that eventually got shut down.
So what does that point to? What kind of conclusion could we make if we're saying that she has the same thing?
In order for it to be infectious to a human, it has to have alpha 2,6 salicylic acid linkage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you're saying that's what we're seeing.
The odds of that taking place with an animal
by nature
to a human is highly unlikely. Everything points towards this gain-of-function research that takes place, and sort of in other words, it's likely something that has been in the works. I can't say that for 100% sure. Nobody really knows. I mean, it's like, except you can only look at the research and what the research points to, and then you have to like literally use discernment and connect the dots on this stuff. But they are finding that if we just look at the microRNA vaccines and how they were able to do a study on the liver and how it retranscribed itself back up from the RNA back into the DNA, then you can there's only one conclusion you can come up with, and that is likely not
human intervention.
It's not a natural occurrence. And so really what we need to be focusing on in terms of remedy is focusing on, and you can pull up the study I did. Actually, if I could just share my screen with you here. There is, let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen just momentarily so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Here we are. Influenza polymerase basic 2 protein. And this is the influenza A RNA dependent virus. And this is the exact same gain of function research that they did on the ferrets back in the 70s using this polymerase basic 2 protein. And so what this protein does is it inhibits what a gene, a system in your body that senses, it's an antiviral mechanism that kickstarts a system in your body called interferon gamma cytokine system that is intended to kill anything that's foreign that is sensed by this receptor. So this receptor is considered like a pattern recognition receptor. It senses RNA that's not supposed to be there. Yeah. And what this gain of function research does, according to the research, is it bypasses the MAV signaling right here, MAV signaling, MAVS, and I can just pull that up too right here in the gene cards. It bypasses this system associated with a few different genes, your RIG1, your RNA sensor, and your mitochondrial antiviral signaling protein. So it bypasses these two systems so they can get in and do its damage. Okay, so you could read about what this gene does. But in the research I was able to uncover, there's a compound down here called isomangoferin, and it's isolated from mango seed, bark, and the fruit itself. And you can go look up the fact that it inhibits the influenza virus. Okay, inhibitor. I'll just show you so you can see it for yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
Bada bing. So I've been telling people there's one thing that you can do right out the gate.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't sharing the screen, was it? Okay.
No, but just keep talking. If you read it, as long as.
There you go.
Okay.
So there's studies out there. Just type in influenza polymerase basic 2. Cross-reference that with gain-of-function research. You'll find studies done on the ferret. Then cross-reference polymerase basic 2 protein against the recent Texas CDC article on the cdc.gov in Texas, and they actually mention the polymerase basic 2 finding on the recent H5N1. Okay.
But let me guess, they're not going to let this proliferate if the thing does happen. I mean, these are the things we need to know, right? We need isohamnetin because that inhibits the amplification of influenza. Like this is the stuff we need. They're not going to talk about it.
Isomengoferin, antiviral properties against influenza, and the way that it works is it turns back on the function of this gene right here called your mitochondrial antiviral signaling protein.
And then there's other compounds. So there's isomengoferin, there's isoimperotorin, there's isohamnetin, there's isoquercitrin, NUD1, there's
So here's the thing with the initial linkage. Okay, the initial linkage that the virus initially attaches. It uses hemagglutinin to basically attach itself to the cell surface receptor, and then it hijacks your salicylic acid receptor next. Okay, this is why they give you Tamiflu when you have a viral infection, and why antibiotics simply do not work. Okay, the problem with Tamiflu, and I know this firsthand because I took it when I was younger, the whole room was closing in on me with extreme hallucinations, and that is one side effect. Okay?
I hallucinated without the stuff.
So if you want to stop it from proliferating to begin with, attaching to the cell surface receptor, there is a unique combination, and this is what I'm going to tell people that have been private messaging me, what can we do, without getting into like some of the data that I'm putting into the course right now. This is just basic stuff that individuals can do, and that is combine elderberry. If you get your hand on some elderberry bark, even better.
And that's good. You can pick that stuff
elderberry
naturally.
Bark combined with elderberry itself.
And
mango combined with mango bark.
Now you're speaking my language.
So there's a lot of compounds that are in the leaves and in the bark that are not actually found in the fruit itself. There are higher concentrations in the leaves and also in the barks themselves. Okay, so elderberry has a few unique compounds in them that work in synergy as a viral neuraminidase inhibitor, a natural viral neuraminidase inhibitor that you can combine with salicylic acid itself. So when you physically ingest, so where can you find salicylic acid, right? This is called a decoy mechanism in terms of science. It's providing a decoy receptor to basically throw the virus off track. But not only that, it occupies the receptor site so that it can't physically connect to it in and of itself. This is how it works. Like a lock and key mechanism. We're locking them out is essentially what takes place. And so when you combine salicylic acid and elderberry and mango together in synergy, you can stop a lot of the initial stuff from taking place, the initial attachment. Now, once it gets in you, then that's a whole nother can of worms.
That's why we got reverse FX.
Well, there's other things I'm coming out with. I'm coming out with the pathogen combat response, PCR for short. If you get it, you get it. Okay.
Yeah, you're making a play on their terminology.
Well, the PCR wasn't intended for the purposes.
The test they use it for. No, it's
Not
like
even he said it
it's the
himself.
same concept of the hockey stick graph to show that the temperature spike. Like any data you put into it, it shows the same. Correct?
Well, it shows what you want it to show.
Yeah.
Based
It's
on
not
the
to be
cycles,
used for what they're using.
based on the cycles. And if you look at mainstream news right now, they're like, oh, we all got to be safe, so everyone needs to go out and get tested. Well, what's that going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to drive the numbers and justify. It's like this. I use this analogy all the time. If I was a fire insurance salesman, it would greatly benefit me to go start a crap ton of fires around, so that you
Unfortunately
think that you need fire insurance, because gosh, look at all the carnage happening around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Palisades right now, but we could get into that even.
We
But
could.
it's like,
I mean, everything is a corona. The common cold is a coronavirus, or if we even can call it that, because they have never isolated the virus. You know, a lot of people talk about it being spores and everything like that. There's a lot of noise on that stuff, but you can go and get this test and just come up positive just because you're walking around a live human.
they're giving the animals the same test.
Yeah.
So you can have one chicken, for example, show up positive, right? 50% false positive result.
Yeah.
And it not even actually be infectious at all whatsoever. That could be a dead fragment from a virus laying around in its system.
Yep.
And it'll show up positive, and now you have 2,000 birds that need to be culled based on one result.
And there goes the food supply, like you're saying.
And then there goes our food supply.
During the scamdemic, you know, there was they caught him a lot on that. I think, you know, the one that the guy had sent in a sample from a fruit, right? And positive for COVID, you know,
asphalt.
and it goes,
asphalt, and it was coming up positive. I mean, come on.
Well, maybe
quick, I don't want to jump around a whole lot. I want to just mention real quick. I mentioned elderberry, mango, and salicylic acid. I know people have no idea what that is. Okay, I already know that. But you can have, there's high concentrations of salicylic acid found in colostrum, the first mother's milk. Right?
Oh, wow.
What gives a baby its immune system to begin with to start life itself? It's the
mother's milk.
It's the mother's milk. There's all kinds of different compounds in mother's milk. There's immunoglobulins, there's lactoferrin, there's galactose, there's salicylic acid. These are all kind of specialized sugars that the body needs in order to build the immune system up. And the way that it does that is through the sugar chains. And there are vital sugars that body needs that the standard American diet simply is not providing. We're getting milk sugars from pasteurized milk right now, which is not true milk. And we're getting sugar from sugar cane. We're not getting all the other essential sugars that the body needs to properly build out the sugar chains on the cell surface receptor in order for the immune system to do its intended job. And that is to flag anything that isn't supposed to be there. And so when you supply the body with the right sugars, it gives the body an opportunity, kind of like shining a black light in a dark room. You're able to see what is there that was invisible before. And like I mentioned earlier, every single pathogen, whether it's a bacteria, virus, or fungus, they all coat themselves with sugars to try to mimic what a cell would look like so that your immune system cannot flag it, right? There's a system in the body that works on flagging it is the first step, tagging it, and then bagging it. Flagging it, tagging it, bagging it. That's how the body works in its most simple, basic terms. It has to flag it, so it has to recognize it's there to begin with. Then it has to tag it, so then it tags it as foreign. Then you have your cytokine that comes to the cytokines come first, and then your immune cells come and say it's time to kill this thing. And there's many different ways that the body uses, like neutrophils and dendritic cells and macrophages, and there's all different kinds of ways that the body will kill something that's not supposed to be there. And then it has to bag it. So it uses apoptosis and different mechanisms
apoptosis
to break that system down, and then it heads on to the lysosome, your garbage disposal unit, and then there's these systems that are set up in place, right? And so the first step is recognizing okay, and so it's just like the HIV glycoprotein 120. It's anytime you go to a glycoimmunology type of convention, they're always talking about two things: cancer and HIV. Why? Because all the systems in the body, all the immune systems in the body, all the checks and balances in the body, all work on sugar chains. Yeah. So what happens when you have a latent virus that goes dormant in the body for, let's say, 20 years? There's several viruses that do this. Epstein-Barr is one example. That does this.
That's a bad one.
Mononucleosis, that type of stuff. It'll sit there for years and years and years, and then what happens? You don't get good sleep. You start getting stressed out of your mind. You're getting run to the ground, and then it's an opportunistic pathogen, and it comes out to play, right? But before all that can happen, it has to be able to cloak itself so that your immune system does not recognize it's there. All the while still messing with the cellular machinery that's in the body in terms of cellular division and all these kinds of systems. And so that's why anytime you go look up like proto-oncogenes, for example, they're all cancer genes, and every single one of them are associated with some sort of virus. And so this is the way the body works. Either you get the pathogen, your body detects it, you fight it off, you kill it, you defend itself, you move on. Body does it every day. You're exposed to millions of potential threats every single day. Or B, your body doesn't recognize it's there, and then it can manifest itself in so many different ways that'll make your head spin. Autoimmune disease, there's what?
Right. As your body responds to it, it can go all kinds of ways.
So what is autoimmune disease? It's your body attacking its own cells.
Yeah.
Why would it do that?
Yeah.
This even moves into the field of like allergies, food allergies. Why are there so many flipping food allergies these days? Right? And you could go back and look at even like the polio vaccine, for example. Go look at the data on how many autoimmune diseases there were prior to that.
Very few.
Very few. It wasn't even like a thing. Nobody even heard of what the hell's an autoimmune disease. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so this whole idea of self versus non-self is really the crutch of the matter, to know thyself is to know the universe and God. Like, these are concepts that are found all throughout even ancient religions and philosophies. It's no different than how your body works. It's really a battle between what's supposed to be there and what isn't. And so when you combine the right combinations of compounds together, you create this synergistic effect that allows the body to properly recognize these damage-associated molecular patterns, these self-associated molecular patterns, and these pattern-associated molecular patterns. It's all about pattern recognition. So I have like this quote: in a sea of possibilities, pattern recognition is the key to unlocking the door to new therapeutic interventions. And this is what I mean, is the whole body is controlled by these systems. And so all cell-to-cell communication that takes place in the body, in other words, like, what's this guy doing over here? All the pathways that are involved, all the protein-to-protein interactions that take place within the body, all the cellular signaling, that takes place in the body is also controlled by the sugar chains. Why? Because it's the first point of contact with everything. They're the first
Wow.
point of contact. And
Yeah.
so it's like,
Makes sense.
I use this analogy all the time too. It's like communication is of utmost importance in marriage, right? And so,
Right.
like, if you're not communicating, you will likely get divorced pretty soon,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And your body and your cells work also the same way. And it's like the highest paid profession in industry are the individuals who master communication, right?
Well, that's true. Hey, I believe that you could communicate on this for about 10 hours, Joey.
Easy.
You've
All right,
you've gotten a few you've gotten a few compliments here. Jojo Bean, your sister says Joey has a cool background, and you do. You got this awesome phoenix wings. It looks like they're your own wings.
Yeah.
Um,
After
but
the house burned down, that was the theme. Rise from the ashes, man.
I know, and I think that's really profound. We have a few people that have been commenting here. Chris is he is a rancher out in New York, and he's really been driving with you, and he said that you could be a veterinarian. And you know, I'm sure as he's listening to you talk, a lot of what you're saying, you know, he deals with that kind of terminology as he deals with treating his cattle in the best way. And they hear a lot of this type of language, you know, whereas it's interesting because we don't hear it when you go see the doctor, but the person dealing as in husbandry is very closely aligned with the very best because that's their livelihood. But when you go in here, you know, to where you should be getting mercy and help, they just say, here, take this next pill. And we got, so I'm trying to keep on track. We've got about 20 minutes. I want you to highlight a few of these products that you're getting into. And what your plans are, because we're gonna, you know, I want to carry them on the show and highlight them as you revamp, refocus here for the new year and develop these supplements. What specifically do you have in mind? What are you excited about the most, and what can we expect?
Right now, I'm really excited about 2 supplements that I'm going to come to market with. One of them is the Synergy itself, which is where the name glycosynergy comes from. And what I've done, I had the supplement before with the previous company, except this time I'm revamping it. And what I'm doing is targeting systems in the body. It's the most complex system in the body that you could ever even possibly imagine. It's like a 1,000,000-piece puzzle that you have to lay everything out and try to figure out. And so, like, this is one of my
Hey,
gifts.
Man. Yeah,
one of my gifts
I believe it.
Playing the matching game, like when you're a kid.
Yeah.
We have a match. So there's
I can do that.
in your body.
I can play that. I'm good at that.
I'm gonna come out with revamped Synergy, and it's gonna target the interactions between sugar receptors and lectin receptors.
Yeah.
So lectin has a really bad name by Dr. Stephen Gundry. He came out with the lectin avoidance diet. The guy's a complete tool. Has no idea what the hell he's even talking about. Lectins, you would not be, let me just put it like this. You would have zero food to eat if it not for lectins. Lectins are the primary defense system in all of plant life kingdoms. Okay? And so there are strikingly similar systems when you look at human systems biology and plant life.
Well, what they say is that it just causes you to retain fat.
So the body reacts to the lectin because it does not have the correct sugar paired with it. This is the problem.
Okay.
When you combine the right sugar to support the sugar chain with the right lectin from various plants. This is why elderberry bark, there's a lectin in elderberry bark that pairs with salicylic acid sugar. This is why I tell people, pair colostrum with elderberry because there's a lectin in elderberry.
Pair colostrum with elderberry. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lock and key mechanism that takes place that is able to lock out and ward away any potential threat from even attaching itself to begin with on the cell surface receptor. I could show you tons of images on this. They're pretty cool to look at, but it's what
you combine together
sentinel,
with it. Yeah.
Right. What is a sentinel? Sentinel is like a guard, right? It's out there, it's constantly scanning, making sure everything's okay. This is the synergy is the sentinel of the immune system, and it's the master lock and key mechanism to fight against anything foreign. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So it could be virus, fungus, bacteria, mycoplasma, bacteriophage. Don't even get me started on that. So you know they've cloned the influenza virus with a bacteriophage, right?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah.
You know that bacteriophages are energy harvesting?
Wow.
So what
that
the hell
doesn't
does that
sound
mean?
good.
Right? So
I don't like the sound of that.
All pathogens will siphon energy. That's why when you get sick, you're like, man, I need to go to bed, take a nap. They literally would siphon your energy. This is work that Dr. Judy Mikovits was doing on chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
On how
we may very well have her on. So I'm excited about that.
Viruses trigger chronic fatigue syndrome and stuff like that. This takes chronic fatigue syndrome to a whole new level when you start talking about the M13 bacteriophage, which is some recent stuff I started learning about just recently. But
so we've got a question here. Andrea asked, so I joined pretty late. Are you going to have a doc with all this info? Right now, and so that was my first thought. Like we got the doc on right now. No, it costs money to have a transcript from every single show. But Joey, you have all of this, in certain places, that we can go and read it. There will be a transcript from this show, but what is the best place someone can go to bone up more on what you've been talking about?
Typically Facebook is, I don't have time to be on all
your
the platforms, man.
Because your website,
and run with it.
But I know, but a couple of your websites were taken down, as I recall.
Well, I had, I just transitioned everything over from a few of them over to other ones. So Glycosynergy, you click on the science blog, you can start reading. There's tons of information I put up there.
And so what's the new fresh website to go to?
Glycosynergy.com.
Yeah.
And then my other one is my research consulting company called DNAdetermination.com. You can click on the science. There is some really advanced scientific knowledge there that will blow your mind. I'm interested in all kinds of topics, how DNA is a quantum antenna, that kind of stuff. But I post a lot on my Facebook feed. You just go there and start looking up what I've been doing for the last 5 years, and it'll blow your mind.
No, that's great. And they should. Everybody should actually, after this show, is go to those websites. Go peruse Joey Phillips' Facebook page. It's just a treasure trove of knowledge.
I literally have nothing to sell you.
Yep.
Give me a few
but we will.
The fires really hurt me. I'm getting all my systems back online now. But I
Like literally, your estate was burned down and you lost a lot, but you were able to save your equipment, a lot of your materials for making supplements, correct?
So just to kind of put this in perspective, I don't have a medical background. I'm not a doctor. I would never prescribe you. I would never even practice. Okay. I've been, told many times I should go get a degree. And I'm like, why the hell would I want to do that? Most doctors right now are trying to flee that industry because they have muzzles.
I know.
Literally muzzles. If they don't play the game, they're out. It's a good old boys club, right? So, but I've been told by PhD biochemists that I put their degrees to shame. That was a huge compliment. I've been told by presidents of naturopathic schools of medicine, which I took on a 3-hour tour years ago, that I was 70 years ahead of most current knowledge that is out there right now. And I frequently, have clients that are like double board certified naturopathic doctors. Like this is my world. So, I teach a lot. I really enjoy teaching. Yeah, there you go. Pull that baby up. There's the next one coming at us. It's already been pre-planned.
I wanted to just get in this
funny, but it's
briefly. I mean, comedy is the true opiate for the masses, not religion. But anyway, if anybody actually did any studying at all on the last so-called pandemic, it was actually put out there by this John Hopkins Society before it ever happened. And the entire thing was played out like a war game with events, specifics, and everything. Okay, now we have a new scenario that's been put out, and I definitely didn't want to finish the show without pointing to it. The SPARS pandemic of 25 to 2028, a futuristic scenario for public health risk communicators. And this is at the John Hopkins Society. There is a lot of information here. You can see the table of contents, a possible future in 2025, the echo chamber. Then you have the different chapters. You have chapter 1 is the SPARS outbreak begins. Then a possible cure, a potential vaccine, users beware, going viral is chapter 5. The grass is always greener, the voice, are you talking to me, changing horses mystery. If you go through here, for instance, chapter 5, okay, going viral literally means all of the posts online, and they go through things that are happening online, and they come up and they have posts going viral, reports of negative side effects associated with calosivir, which is one of the new the medicines they say they're going to have, and the vaccine is called Corovax in this particular paper. Despite the negative response, public health agencies continue to make progress until February, when a video of a 3-year-old boy in North Carolina who was hospitalized with SPARS and began projectile vomiting immediately after taking a dose of calosivir went viral. In the video clip, the boy's physician administers a pediatric dose of liquid calosivir. A few moments later, the boy begins vomiting profusely, chokes, and then faints while his mother shrieks in the background. Here's the posts. Hands off my kid, it says, and this is from February 23rd, 2028, with 1,200 retweets, 3,600 likes, and it says, local child vomits immediately after taking hashtag calosivir, and you wonder why I will never give it to my child. Hashtag calosivir is poison. And then another one, kid looked like he was going to Ralph after taking calosivir. Got it on video, passed out in his own puke, and then hashtag barf, hashtag hurl, and then 3 laugh emojis. This is just a snippet of what they go in here and predict, like some kind of sick, twisted medical war game. And I'll tell you, when I found this, I mean, it shook me up, and I want to get it out there because we are right now on the cusp. We don't know what's coming, But if this administration doesn't stand against this, then you're going to need to know what to do. And so that's why Joey's on here. That's why we're talking about this stuff. Go ahead, Joey.
According to the CNN reporter, it's the 21st. It's like right after Trump takes office, they don't say it blatantly, but they're saying it without saying it. You got to read between the lines a little bit. But this is something that's been, this document's over 2 years old, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I was surprised.
The first part of this document is about controlling social media narrative.
I know.
So controlling the flow of information is paramount to
it. Actually talks about how everybody is in their own little spheres of social networking, and they're listening to their own people, and it has this whole idea of how it actually makes it easier to manipulate and control them because of the tech. Rather than a lot of us think, well, man, we got all this knowledge at our fingertips. There is reality in that. I happen to believe the internet backfired on the powers that be. That can be debated, but I do believe that. I think that, people are more capable, more aware of a lot of things, but they have this really eerie description of how, because they're in their own pockets and they can manipulate, they allow for the dissent, and they, send out agent provocateurs and people who are controlled opposition to really just screw up the narrative and keep it going. Andrea says, is there a patent number on the vaccine already? I don't know. We need to look that up.
They've been working on it for a while now. They've already got stockpiles of it in Europe, in the United States, ready to go. They've been essentially planning this for a very long time. This isn't something that just happened.
On what one? What's it called?
They had to, I don't remember the name right now. You can easily look it up. Just go look up the latest influenza H5N1 mRNA vaccine. You'll find it. It's like,
in the article, in that, they call it Corovax. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, but they've been leading up to this for quite some time, for several months. Is like what I was talking about earlier with the animals. Is just because the narrative that they threw out before with the COVID, with the bat jumping to humans, didn't fly with people who actually understood science. Like, they called them out on it. And so they've been grooming this one to not make the same mistake as the other one. So,
but don't they call it H5N1 because the H1N1 was the flu, was the swine flu, and that was a long time ago, and it didn't really do much. And then the vaccine killed a couple people, so they pulled it off the shelf immediately.
So the H stands for hemagglutinin, and the N stands for neuraminidase. So there's like many different combinations. You can have H5N3, H5N2. Like, it's just a combination of how many hemagglutinins you have and how many neuraminidase you have. Will depend on what it's titled. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Maybe a lot of people know that. Maybe some people don't. But H5 is 5 hemagglutinin, right? H5N2, N3.
That's why they call it 5.
Yeah. Neuraminidase. But this is how you beat it. Is you target the initial attachments, and then you go after the gain of function additions after that. It's like I say, anything that's done can be undone in the same manner in which it was done in the first place. So if you look at how and why and how it works, basically you can start putting together plans of action to be able to mitigate that kind of thing. So,
wow.
We're coming up on 2 hours now, bro.
That's okay. I'm thankful for you, man.
The fog and the respiratory stuff and like all the stuff.
The last show I went 3 hours. I was trying to do 2, but if we can go a little more, because I don't know when you'll be back on, but I think we should definitely take a moment here. Let's try to keep it tight, but let's talk about the fog. The fact that we see this event in Naples, Florida, where a bunch of fog went through. People are talking about a pinkish glow around the lights, and we see this test that was done, and there's the bacteriophage that you're talking about in it. But it was a glass container that was the sample is got an ID WD85-93-81A10S. And what they found in this sample on January 1, 25 was Serratia marcescens. And that is a parasite. They found trillions of non-benign parasites in this fog. Why would they? Why would that be in there?
Look it up. I think it's a bacteria that's actually associated also with the bacteriophage. Doesn't really matter. It's not supposed to be there, right?
Not supposed to be in the fog.
No, why would it be there, right? So, and these are people that are doing independent laboratory testing because they're displaying symptoms like flu-like symptoms. Why would they have flu-like symptoms, right? Oh, they got a flu vaccine right around the corner. Maybe they want to drive numbers. I don't know. I'm speculating, but it's like, why some artificial fog all of a sudden? If you don't believe, or don't even know about these technologies, you go look up the sea spray. It's called Operation Sea Spray, like San Francisco. It's like a long time ago, even. You can go look at this kind of stuff, but people literally all over social media have been reporting on this artificial fog, saying how people live in highly dense fog areas that are used to fog all the time, saying this is not fog. Like, what the hell is this, right? And then you got people that are going on even, there's one video called Snowvid or whatever. This guy goes out and he's gathering a bunch of snow and he distills it. And he's like, if this is real snow and if it's just water, there'll be nothing left when I get done distilling this. Well, he gets done distilling it and it's a bunch of highly magnetic material. So then you got people, speculating on what it is. Is it smart dust? I mean, I don't know what the hell it is. All I know
I
is
got that. Let's watch it. I got that. Here it is.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
We've gone from fogvid to snowvid. In the interests of public safety, I thought we'd do a little experiment today because we might think this is just snow. And I pray to God that it is just snow. But given light of the recent events and what happened with the fog, I thought we'd do an experiment and see what's actually in this snow. And the way we're going to do this is with a water distiller. So as you can see, I filled up the distiller with snow. And what the distiller is going to do, it's going to heat up this snow. It's going to condense it into steam. And then anything that's left behind in the snow, which isn't actually snow, is going to be left behind in the distiller. Right, so let's take a look inside this chamber and see what's left after the snow has now been distilled. I've emptied this out now and I've put it onto a plate. What is that? So again, this is just snow from outside. I've put it in the distiller and now we've emptied out the distiller and we've got this. What is going on, people, and what is in the snow? What is that?
Thoughts?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, if it's magnetic, typically, if it is a smart dust, you can go research this stuff. They can nanoparticleize iron with graphene oxide and easily make a smart dust out of it, right? If it's magnetic, it's gonna be probably something associated with iron particle, nanoparticleized iron graphene oxide complex. I do a ton of studies on nanoparticleizing because I use it in my supplements. There's an evil side to nanoparticleizing things to make a smart dust even, but there's also a way to do it naturally, using you can use natural compounds. So it's like the technology isn't bad, it's the intent. It is the intent behind the user of that technology that is the problem. Are they using it for good or are they using it for bad? Because I go back to the same thing with the vaccine. I'm not against vaccinations. I'm against all the shit they put in the vaccinations. There's no need for it when you can elicit a proper immune response with natural ingredients, the same way you could with the pegylation, polysorbates and all the other crap that they put in. Even the nanohydrogels are using pegylated compounds. PEG is the nanohydrogels, and people are even doing blood tests and finding this all throughout the blood stream. There's like tons of videos even on morticians being like, what the hell? What is all this tissue? They can't even get the embalming fluid up into the normal arteries that they normally would have because of all the blockage that's taking place with, it looks like some sort of like artificial type of compound in the tissue,
Yeah, that really freaked me out. So that was across the country, a lot of embalmers coming out and saying, hey, we've got miles of blood clotting that are snake-like in shape. They're long, and they're pulling them out, never before seen in any cadaver.
Yeah, they're using this nanoparticleized, pegylated polyethylene glycol, pegylated compounds, and they're combining these stuff together with other composites.
Yeah, that's right. Watch Died Suddenly. That was in Died Suddenly. Yeah.
So we're literally like breathing this stuff in. It's in our food supply even. Like there was a Pepsi commercial. They showed this stuff on like in a microscope, and it's like all throughout the food supply. It's the air we breathe, the food we drink, the medicine,
and all the videos of the snow. They burn it, and it just turns black.
Yeah. So it's like
lots of videos of that.
Now I understand why. It says in the Bible, if Christ didn't return, then man would destroy the earth and himself. Like it's literally happening like right now. So
well, I've been looking at chemtrails for a long time, and the atmospheric aerosoling, what they like to call it, has been something they've been doing for so long. And it wasn't even just 10 years ago. Most places would just, any group of people would just laugh you right out. Now most people are at least conducive to listen, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but they hold these meetings and they talk about what it would be like and what could be the possible outcome if we started our atmospheric aerosoling programs. And we want to spray all these particulates into the air, metal particulates, in order to reflect the sun back, because it's always further earth. And we're going to try to reflect the sun rays back. But then you go out to Mount Shasta and they have levels of mercury and cadmium and barium just off the charts and through the roof. And so they've been dosing us with all this. Here where I live, massive rash of whooping cough went through. I got it. It was very, very destructive. And I don't, when everybody gets that and stuff, who knows what they put in it. I know there was times when guys were going up in biplanes. I know of a guy that took a sample of some of that stuff and actually found human DNA in it. There's human DNA they find in a lot of stuff. So it's very disheartening, but taking the efforts to fortify our own health actually works. And I think my family probably be a lot worse off if we hadn't. And I'm so thankful for what you're doing. I've benefited a lot from your stuff, man. And I'm excited to see what else you're going to put together. Because it's like, what are we going to do? We can talk about it you know, and knowing is power, but we
You
need
just
to
reverse engineer their
do something.
technology. It's like, you know, it's like the crash landing in Area 51, bro. You know, you gotta take their technology and just reverse engineer it. You know, it's like or New Mexico, wherever it was. You know,
that's
all jokes aside, it's like when you know how the body works, right, on a like subcellular level. Like, are we breathing this stuff in? Yeah, we're breathing it through where? Our lungs. Okay, what are the main genes and proteins and functions of lungs? Right? You have what are the main defense
you
systems of the
breathe.
lungs? Right? It's like the chi, right? The breath of life. It's like breathing in oxygen, breathing
They
out
actually
carbon.
resembles
You know, it's like
tree.
our
Nerves resemble a
exhale
tree.
feeds the plants, which then in turn feed us, and then even our waste feeds the trees and the plants. There's like I did a post on this.
Yeah.
You have a urea cycle in the body, and it's related to urine, urine. But the word urea is an ancient Sanskrit word that means space, dimension. In other words, it's like expanding space-time fluctuations and things like that. They have to do with like quantum systems in biology and the word urea. So when you pee, this is why like ancient alchemy, they're always infatuated with urine. You there?
We are losing signal. That may be a sign that we need to bring the show to a close, but we can edit this up. Yeah, I want to keep going here a second. So we're having some technical difficulties. Right now it sounds okay. You started cutting out, and then I was picking up for you, and I cut out. So, just in a short synopsis here, let's move to something else to end the show. We've talked a lot with alternative med and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because why do we need to do this is because the people who purport to be our leaders, the people who are in established facilities of the medical industry, let's just say they may not have your best interest at heart. And we see this played out. I coined a term the other day, and to see if I can remember what I said was because we've seen a blending of big pharma and the military industrial complex, and I can't even remember what I said, but I coined this new term. We'd have to look it up next time it's on the last podcast, but it has to do with this fact that the U.S. government has actually put more money into studying bioweapons than they have even their nuclear program. So we need to be alert about these things and realize that there are nefarious agendas taking place all around us at all times. But the Lord's not the author of confusion. So when we look at this stuff, there is a way to sift through it and not be led down the primrose path, even in trying to figure out, who's doing it. But right now, what we're seeing on the western seaboard here is the Palisades fire, and this fire is far bigger, than just Hollywood. I mean, it's up into Santa Monica. It's all over the place. And there's a lot of things surrounding this that's pointing to the fact that they may be cleansing the land, to bring in their smart city. They may be doing a big cover up to cover up the pedo tunnels underground, because they know, or they feel like maybe the justice is coming from the new administration. That's debatable, but or it could be people that are fed up with the establishment and that are starting all these fires. That's what someone else said. But this is certainly something we've never seen before. The water was redirected, was dumped into the ocean because of some kind of fish. What are your thoughts on that, Joey? Because I know you've looked at it.
We're starting to see a theme. Maui, Bolivia, and it's not just those places. Those are the places that you've heard of. I watched about a half-hour video the other night. She laid out all the evidence of entire land grabs taking place for cobalt, lithium, these types of things that are going to drive technological systems in the next millennia. Rare earth precious metals and these kinds of things that are essential to maintain as a superpower. Only problem is you have tribal nations that refuse to give you their land, and areas that people just don't want to get off of, that don't want to move. And so this is like my thoughts on it's like killing 5 birds with 1 stone is kind of how you have to look at it. Like there's many reasons why. Do we really know the number one reason? No.
Have you seen a lot of airplanes trying to put that fire out? Because I've been watching the reels and I haven't seen a lot of planes. And I was looking it up. There was $17.6 million was allocated for fire planes a few years ago under Newsom. And we're not seeing that. Then guess what I found?
Day late and $1 short as far as I'm concerned.
Listen to this. A $7.4 billion bond was set in 2014 for collecting rainwater to make sure there was any backup for any kind of California fires. That was 2014, 11 years ago. Not one storage facility was ever built.
Sounds like people donating to cancer foundations and then never finding cures.
Oh yeah, right. But hey, the pink ribbon looks great on the football field. Pink jerseys.
And you feel good when you give the money, right?
No, it feels so good. Yeah, a little bit of nothing like a little virtue signaling.
Yeah.
I think I was trying to remember what I coined. It was I said to blending the military-industrial complex and big pharma was jackboot, bio weapon, synergistic. I don't remember. I don't remember.
That's why Putin didn't want the new biolab in Ukraine.
We're facing a dastardly beast.
Yeah.
No, I imagine so. But we certainly don't revel in anybody's
you gotta
misfortune.
Take care of you, number one, right? It's like getting
that's right.
They teach you about the oxygen mask.
That's right. So that
take care of you
can help others.
Take care of your immediate circle, which is your family.
That's right.
Then you go outside your circle to your friends and your loved ones, maybe cousins, aunts, uncles, that kind of thing. And you reach out to your community next.
Yeah.
So you start with you. I mean, literally, it was Gandhi. You be the change, right? Like you gotta start somewhere. So if it's like the one person that kickstarts a domino effect in a small knit community that ends up being only 100 people, it's like the 100th monkey type of effect. It only takes 3% of the population,
right,
to make an effective change. And so
that's good.
The flow of information really is the battle. It's a war. The war is for the information. We live in an information-driven society. Information is the new currency. Like the dollar's dead. It's information is the currency.
It is. So, that's why I love that term, InfoWars. I mean, I love it.
Well,
no matter what.
Here's the thing, too.
But
you gotta understand, these people, whoever they are bound. I know you may not think it may not seem like it because all the carnage that we witness, but they are bound by certain universal principles. they have to manufacture consent. They do that through priority written notice. How do they get priority written notice? Through various means in the public domain. Number one way, Hollywood. They do it through the movies. They literally will tell you what they're going to do in the freaking movies and the television
or what
show.
they've done. Yep. I think they get a little shot of power from it. You know, you're gonna.
Oh yeah, they probably
we're gonna
laugh
tell
at all
you.
these people. They think it's just nonfiction, right? So
yeah. Oh, we're just chattel.
Fiction, and you know. Yep. But there's other databases and websites that you can find really important, pertinent data on that they are obligated to leave out there for the public domain, because then it takes the I don't know what you want to call it, the karmatic repercussion off of them, saying, well, we told them, right?
Yeah.
So this is how they manufacture consent, and they get that through several ways. Silent acquiescence is the name of the game, really. If you don't say something, then they're automatically going to think it's okay, right?
Yep.
It's like,
and a mask works really well.
If you don't stand up to the bully, you're going to get your ass kicked, right? You got to stand up to the bully. So, and then the other way they get it is through tacit, what they call as the legal term, it's called tacit procuration, which is this basically, you can sum that up in one thing, and the big print giveth and the fine print taketh away, man. So that's how they get you, but they always have to tell you what they're doing, and this is the stage that we're at right now is priority written notice. Like the writing's been on the wall for like 6 months now of what is going to happen. Shit, they put out the document 2 years ago, and that spars John Hopkins. Yeah. Just like they did Event 201. They put Event 201 on John Hopkins.
Event 201. Yeah, that was
6
COVID.
months before they unleashed the last one.
Yeah.
So there's a common theme that takes place, and that is they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. It's a universal principle that they cannot violate. It just cannot be violated. So you always have to look for the telltale signals and the signs, you know, that are the writing on the wall that's out there. You know, you have to do your due diligence, test all things, knock, seek and ye shall find. Like, we've been told this stuff, you know, and not rely on someone else to cook your chicken dinner and slap you on the ass and tell you everything's going to be okay. That's not how it works. You have to take some personal responsibility. Bottom line.
I'm going to share this real quick. Check this out. The Wreck of the Titan, written many, many years before the Titanic sank. And it describes the largest ocean liner of the day going out and hitting an iceberg and sinking. I just leave that there.
Well, my daughter showed me a video earlier today on her little kids' YouTube. She's got her algorithms just right. Showed her a video about the Titanic and the story, the real story behind the Titanic.
Oh man, your daughter, what'd she say
about the the JP Morgans and the Rockefellers and all that stuff?
There was a man
to teach her about some actual history around the Federal Reserve Act and the
that's so good,
Jackal
man.
Island and all that stuff. It was pretty fantastic.
Well, that's the reality. They took away the naysayers, the people that were against building the Federal Reserve. And a Jesuit man went down there and took pictures of every single person that was getting on that boat. They'd never done that before. He logged every single person and made sure they knew who was getting on there, and a bunch of other stuff for another show. But man, this has been great, bro. I just so appreciate your time and your wisdom. Real quick, what are the names again? What are the names of if you have them set already, like you have ideas of your supplements that are coming out?
So I have Mana. I have
Mana.
Core dentine is probably my number one seller. Is the oral supplement. This stuff's like gold, man. People just love it.
Well, your teeth, everything's connected to your teeth and the nerves.
Yeah,
in
they
them.
say the mouth is the gateway to health, and this.
Yeah, core dentine.
You brush your teeth once a day, and you don't get any plaque. Therefore, you don't have any damage to your teeth. It's just fantastic, man. But then I have Synergy being re-released. Then I have Nano Defense, which I have done some deep dive research on how to combat nanohydrogels and graphene oxide. Those are my targets for Nano Defense. It's pretty dang special supplement. Deep dive research on that stuff. Figured out how to break up graphene oxide and nanohydrogels in the system.
So what's happened with
what's that?
Reverse FX has changed to what?
Well, Reverse FX is no longer. I'm going to try. My business partner Adam and I are going to be trying to bring that back to market. And so.
Same name.
Yeah, it'll be the same name, good. Same website. I have some potential investors right now also for other stuff that I'm doing too. I want to bring a supplement specifically for the agriculture industry with cattle, pigs, and different various chickens and whatnot. Be able to put something in their water to be able to build their immune systems up, and so they can pass the stupid PCR test that they're being given to save their livelihoods. I'm trying to save the damn farmer with the supplement, believe it or not. It's like, so I have some. I just need what I need for that is a contract. So if you know any farmers who are interested in something like that, I already have a company who's agreed to manufacture and distribute it. So
for animals.
Yeah, we just need contracts. I already have the formulation and all the specs on it ready to go.
Well, we got a guy right here. Listen, so we got Chris out in New York, and he has 300 head of milk cows, from what I understand.
Well,
so they are harvesting the milk.
Yeah, get with me, and let's get connected because I've got a company out of Utah that the thing is, they're just like, we don't feel like there's a market for it right now, but if you have a contract, bring it to us and we'll produce it, we'll manufacture, produce it, distribute it for you. We're like, cool.
Wow.
So
that's
so
awesome.
there's that, and then I have another supplement called Osmosis that we are working on, possible deal with a very well-known doctor. I'm not going to name him on here, but he was the one that was sued for like $708 billion from the FDA and won. So that's another potential contract that we have coming up here as well. And if that goes through, we're going to pitch Reverse Effects and then IV Effects, because he also has 2,000 clinics. So we're trying to get the stuff out to global mass distribution. I'm only one guy. I can make my supplements, but there's other things that need to go out, like global mass distribution. So I'm working on that stuff too. So I've revamped Synergy with the lectin sugar combo. And then I'm working on something very highly specific for H5N1, which is calling PCR. And that stands for Pathogen Combat Response.
Pathogen Combat Response.
Yep. And at
brilliant.
The same time, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a course, a master course on H5N1, which actually will work against any pathogen. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's all
nice.
There's some slight differences, but your body essentially works in the same manner. To deal with most pathogens. There's some slight variations, but so I'm building that course right now to be able to teach the health professionals, because it's vital information that they're just not being taught. They don't know it. They don't know it. You know how I know they don't know it? Because every time I do a consultation with the professional, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Never even heard the terms used before, which is a little disparaging, but we're working on it. We're working on fixing that.
It's all about that education.
Yeah, it really is. So as I'm building the course, I'm actually side by side building the actual formulation for it as well. And so that'll be offered kind of in tandem with the course. People
Phenomenal.
are always free. Well, people are always free to go out and get their own from their own sources and stuff like that. But I'm all.
And where do they where do they find your course and log in on it with you if they want?
There's nothing yet. It's still a work in progress.
But okay, right.
But
you said that. So, but when it's done, it will be at your websites that you provided.
Get on my email list. The best way to get notified is get on my email list at dnadetermination.com. Get on my email list. When it's ready, I'm thinking about releasing the first part of it. I'm thinking about releasing it and kind of drip it out there because I fear that I won't be done with all of it before something actually happens in the public. But
probably smart. You could do it in increments.
2 modules out there that might be enough information for people to actually move into action, like actionable steps. That's the most important thing.
That could be smart too. Get people in on it, and then they're waiting for the next module. So DNAdetermination.com is where they can go and then link up with your email list there, because
and then get on my email list also at
your email. Okay, right, like
glycosynergy.com. Because
great.
I don't have anything to sell you yet. I just got all the backend systems back up and running finally, and I'm waiting for my office to get finished. And
nice.
Then I'll be moving forward with.
But with somebody like Chris, who's got the milk cows now, that's someone that you could talk with direct and be working with on your idea to get set up with a contract with him on.
Yep. It just
some of that would be awesome.
Yeah, get with me and we'll get you. I just basically need a contract to submit to the manufacturing and distribution center, and then we'll get it out to you. And so that's really what I'm trying to do, is save the food supply through this, because there's a way to beat the PCR test that most people have no idea about.
Let's get it, man. Well, there's
I was told
there's my beautiful wife.
A single soul about that.
Well, too late. Out of the bag. Jolene says, "Hey Joe, hey Joe." She said, she's proud of you, and I guess it was Jonah earlier using her other YouTube account saying he liked your background. That was surprised. That made more sense.
So
this has been a lot of
man. I've been just
fun, bro.
Super laser focused, just when you have everything literally stripped from you,
I know,
you're down to your core with nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no distractions. Really.
That's true, man.
So
there's
maybe that's why everything
some
was
hard
taken.
lessons in that when you, I guess, realize that you're a human in the universe, and that the most famous person in the world goes away, and they're forgotten. Like it's what you're going to do with what you have right now, today, the decision you make to make the most of what you've been given, to expound on your talent. And you got a lot, brother. And I appreciate you. I love you very much, man. And
love you.
This is great. This is great. I'm excited about 25 and what we can do, and what we can see the Lord put back together, and I think, and I believe you will. So
we were born for such a time as this.
That's right.
We all have a unique calling. We all have something to bring to the table. Whether it's building community, whether it's supporting someone, whether it's just find your place, find your calling. This could be a bumpy road next 3 or 4 years, according to the Deagle report. We're going to talk about that, but it's like,
no, we didn't.
I don't know what to expect for the next several years. I'm very hopeful for the MAGA, make America healthy again, all that stuff with
Make America not fat again.
Well, this is the thing, man, with the politicians. We've been promised the world for so long, and it's like,
Every time.
is this the one? Is it? I'm not.
Build it up, shuck it
I think
down.
they're all crooks. This is my opinion. Left, right, doesn't matter. They wouldn't be where they're at right now without stepping on someone else's.
Different wing of the same bird,
So that's what they do. They promise you the world.
I know.
Hook, line, and sinker every time. So I want to say that for sure.
Hey, man, I'll be honest, dude. I got sucked in at the last there, and like I'm taking another look at the guy and wondering is Orange Man good because of all the stuff, but at the end of the day, like we got to live our lives, and so no one is over here putting any kind of hope in a human savior. And I think that's where the disconnect comes. Like, that's why I kept telling people, like, people would argue, and I'd say, a vote isn't a Valentine, it's a chess move. And I there was a long part of my life I don't really feel like a vote does a whole lot.
Yeah.
But are we seeing something different? And what history will note whether this was truly different or not, and time will tell. And we're going to be here for it, and so will our children. And God bless us, man. We're going to set these kids up for victory, and we will. So come what may,
the wicked will be stored up for the righteous in the end. I really believe that,
and the righteous will be nothing but chaff.
And what's meant for evil will be used for good. Also, I really believe that.
And God uses the things
for humanity.
Yeah,
I really do.
Of course. In Christ, and he uses the things that aren't to bring down the things that are. I mean, he always uses the base things, base not in the way it's used today, but in the low things. And God always uses the broken. He uses the low, the trodden, and to bring down the giants. Man, that's how he works. And Jolene says it's a good thing we have an incredible immune system. We do, and I was telling people that a lot through all of the things that happen.
Trump nature. Listen, you got all these people are ivermectin and do this and ivermectin and do that. It's like, look, ivermectin. Go do your homework on ivermectin.
Well, I know what it is.
It's not everything it's cracked up to be.
Listen, no, I mean nothing's a cure-all.
Man,
but
will never trump nature. This is why the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that you cannot patent nature. This is why all pharmaceuticals that are manufactured and produced are based on natural compounds, but they change the chemical composition just enough to where they can call it their own and patent it, and then increase the profit margin by 600%.
Well, they're not supposed to be able to patent life forms, but they do. I mean,
well, the thing is, like, your body doesn't know what to do with something that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
it doesn't know what to do with the changed chemical bond. This is why you get side effects. This is where the side effects come.
Yeah,
it's the changing of the chemical bond of what was intended. It's supposed to be a natural compound.
Well, now I don't know if they altered ivermectin. Well, because ivermectin is a compound found in a small part of dirt in the world. The only place it's ever found it in Japan. Some Japanese guy found it. They've never found it anywhere else, but it's a compound produced by an organism. Now, that's what sets it apart. It cured all those people of river blindness and stuff. And, we've seen its effectiveness for 80 years. I mean, it's
making people infertile and just
how's it?
Yeah. I saw some data.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean,
the point is, it's like
it's not a cure-all, but
can trump nature. Man can never trump nature. Like, literally, every plant-bearing seed has a purpose. The mustard seed, like the analogy of the mustard seed in the Bible, I love it so much. You know that black, like mustard seed, is one of the only compounds known to target one of your toll-like receptors, toll-like receptor 7 and toll-like receptor 9, specifically 9. And what does toll-like receptor 9 do? Well, it targets what they call CpG unmethylated RNA. That's a fancy way of saying an RNA virus isn't necessarily supposed to be there. And so this is where the idea of mustard baths come from, which we don't really know anything about in the States. It's like a Russian type thing. But mustard has been used for time immemorial against infectious diseases.
Wow.
Right? So we've lost all this ancient knowledge. You know, when Grandpa and Grandpa used to get sick, what'd they do? They went to the medicine cabinet or the spice cabinet, which was the medicine.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's like, that's the point. It's like, you cannot change a chemical bond on something that's natural and expected not to have a side effect. Just go with the original, the OG. Go with the OG compound. Like C. buckthorn is another example. C. buckthorn, they like give it to horses and stuff to help them race, like the race horses. C. buckthorn has so many compounds, like 700 different biochemicals that it's composed of. It'd make your head spin of how many different compounds that can be singularly isolated from one plant. Why would you go and mess with something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're always trying to synthesize. They're always trying to synthesize.
The point is, you can't make money on something that's natural because it's cheap. It's cheap.
Yeah. They're trying to call vitamin C a drug so they can regulate it. You know, they were trying. I don't think you get it done.
Well, they're trying to do all kinds of stuff through the Codex Alimentarius.
Oh.
That's a whole nother subject.
Codex
Alimentarius is, they're basically trying to control. That? That's a World Health Organization thing. Codex Alimentarius. Go look it up, man. It's crazy.
I've never heard of it. I will.
Oh, really? Wow. It's nothing that's new either. This is way old.
Codex Alimentarius.
Yeah, they're trying to control the flow of accessibilities of.
It sounds like, I mean, when you say codex, well, I just think of, ancient manuscripts. It sounds like a rule that governs how they go about things in the World Health. Is that
it's Big Daddy telling you what you can and you can't have? Pretty much. The whole
this coffee is hot. Yeah. I need a message.
Well, they're trying to take N-acetylcysteine off the market. Just stuff that works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's another example. I used to do consultations with people who had like neuropsychiatric, like anything that has to do with neuronal function, and all the genes I would always look at every single time, no matter what the issue was in the brain. There was one compound that came up continuously, almost every time, on the most important genes that were involved, and that was a compound called galantamine.
Galantamine,
and they get it from a snowdrop flower extract. And so you used to be able to buy this stuff on Amazon for like, I don't know, low doses, 10 milligram, 8 milligram. And I've literally watched it over the last 4 or 5 years to the point now, like, you have to have a prescription to get it now. And it's like, all it is an isolated compound out of a flower.
They got hold of it. Yeah.
What gives you the right to be able to say who can and can't have that? You know what I mean? It's like, you're not. The point is, it's like stuff that works. They do not want you having your hands on it. That is Codex Alimentarius. Okay? That's pretty much what that is. But,
interesting, bro.
Wow.
Good show, man.
Yeah, it's a doozy. There's a lot of moving parts to all this.
We listen. We have got to do a part 2 on this. You got to come back on, man. And
I could show you and your audience some crazy stuff, man. It's like,
oh, I know,
just insane. Blow your mind.
I know you can. we've had a few conversations into the wee hours, and
Yeah.
dude, I mean, the Lord's just been using you so much, man, to build these things and help people. And I know you're going to keep doing it. So this has been awesome. I mean, I think Chris is going to be emailing you to talk with you more about what you can do with ag, with the animals specifically. So that's awesome. That was a good plus from being on here today. And a lot of people I know benefiting. People love this stuff. Like, I'm looking at your Facebook page, you get tons of hits, likes, and people commenting. People want an alternative, and more we're seeing it too. So this is awesome.
People want information that they have been. I mean, listen, I got shadow banned so hard this last few years.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Like,
I'm shadow banned on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah.
I posted on chemtrails in the barium.
Yeah.
And my whole business page got taken down.
No way.
I had to literally rebrand my entire business name on one
Jolene
post.
says we want truth. We want truth.
Because I was telling people what is in the chemtrails, the barium that was falling, and what it does to the body. It hits your inward rectifying potassium channel, which controls a lot of the pacemaking of the heart. And they took it down, man. They took it down and closed my whole account. It's like, dude, that wasn't even like my nuggets. That was just like basic.
That's messed up, man.
But
you can go and look up G. Edward Griffin, just a fascinating individual. Made those 2 films. What in the world are they spraying, and why in the world are they spraying? And that guy is a solid Christian. He's well into his 90s now. He was making videos.
He wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yes, he did. Big, thick book. I listened to that all on disc when I was driving back and forth to work out of state. And man, dude, that was so informative. And that is really where our nation changed for the worse forever, 1913. But he exposed that. And he also exposed the very real fact that they're spraying metals on us. And it's part of why we struggle so much with our health. So that's a good thing to know. Know your enemy. Sun Tzu, Art of War.
They don't want those sun rays coming through either. You know, they want to block out the sun. Also, what is the number one source of vitamin D is you get it when the sun hits your skin.
So right. So they're blocking that out. I mean, well, we've been told the sun. Sun's evil. Sun's evil. We've been told that for a long time.
Well, the humans are evil. I don't know if you've seen that last TV series out. The Earth Abides. Okay. It's a new TV series out.
Earth Abides.
And it's all about how really the humans are the virus, right? And the Earth has just corrected itself by getting rid of all the humans through a plague, right? And there's only a few survivors left. And she says something. It was like episode 2 or 3 of this series. I always watch these series because they always tell you stuff in the series, right? This was the most important sentence in the whole series. She says, you know, it's so nice and peaceful out here right now because there's no other human viruses around, you know, to bother the nature anymore, right? But she says, I just miss all the birds. And I was like,
wow.
If that ain't your telltale, I don't know what is.
You're kind of like Thanos.
Just like
sitting there, like,
bird flu virus. Wow.
Yeah, no, there you go. It's always a tell in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You look hard enough.
Well, you got to seek and you shall find, knock and he will answer. Right?
Amen.
Test all things. And here's the thing. If you don't know where to look, you'll never know where to find it. In other words, if you don't know the right questions to ask, you'll never be presented with the right answer. This is The kingdom is within, right? Slow down with all the distractions. Give yourself time to connect with God. Pray, meditate, fast, like do those things. It's important to slow down so that you can hear, so that you know what questions to ask.
Our source of truth is the Lord, and he's given us a mind, and we can discover these things. And he invaded time and space, not for us to just sit on our talents, to bury it in the dirt. These things are important, and we ought to rise up and take hold of what he's given us, take things outside the walls of the church, or be passionate about engaging your fellow man. And we do this because we do care. We want to help others. And that's why we talk about this stuff. You've helped so many people, and it's easy to get complacent. It is. It's easy to get lackadaisical. It's easy to not want to see anybody else. But it's much more fulfilling to be able to be involved in society in a way that benefits others, and not be affected by what's happening around you, because like you said, it's within. Like your peacefulness is based on your decisions to remain at peace with yourself, no matter the storms that rage around you. And as a Christian, I believe ultimately the depth of peace comes from the Holy Spirit and what he gives for us to be able to live and move and breathe.
Constantly pump that fear out. That's the thing.
That's what the enemy does.
The fear, man. And why do they do that? Think
to control. But there's a saying that comes out of a Marine Corps handbook. It says that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the determination to do what is right. And I love that, because when we were growing up, we had the no fear, the bad boy symbols and stuff. But fear, it really is real, and it's there. It's what you do with it. It may not be of as much of a substance as love and truth. It has to piggyback off of those things, but it is there. It's real, and it's what you do with it, and we can turn it into energy. You can turn it into action.
Turning it into action is the key.
Man, come on, somebody, like at least be motivated, and let's move.
False evidence appearing real. Don't let it cause you to seize, to not be able to move. Right.
And it can. It's paralyzing.
We've all been quarantined. Like, everyone was so afraid,
Man, it was horrible.
I get it. It's scary. I get it.
Next show, I want to talk about some of the things that we saw during the pandemic, and how sad it was to watch, and how we can be better about it next time if it does happen, and how we can help one another. But anyway, we have gone a full 3 hours, brother.
Hey, real quick, Chris Mike says cows have 68 blood types. Figure that out. That's easy. That's easy, Mike. They're likely all glycoproteins. If you go look up blood types, even in humans, they're always glycoproteins. What is a glycoprotein? A sugar, as in glycoimmunology, a sugar attached to a protein, and it's typically usually a some sort of fatty acid or other material. It's always a sugar attached to something else. The sugar chains control it all.
So you're saying that they don't really have that splintered of...
All of God's creations work the same way. All plant life, animal life, humans, does not matter, fish, like you name it. Like all involved with sugar chains, like even like plants wouldn't even stand up straight.
Yeah.
The plants wouldn't even stand up straight if it wasn't for the cellulose.
Well, so are you saying that there are 68 blood types, or that there are not?
That's what he said. He said cows.
He's saying there's 68 blood types in the cows. I didn't.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I mean, it makes sense. They got 4 stomachs.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're usually always glycoproteins. Like any type of blood group in a human, even, it's always a glycoprotein. If it has a glyco on the front end of it, it is related to one of the sugar chains, or some other type of sugar. That is the controlling mechanism for that blood type. That's how it works. And so,
well, on that note, that was a good answer to that question. I think Chris is going to get back to you. He says we will talk. Pam says technology is used for mass mind control. Well, when your dishwasher can spy on you, I think that's true. And
yeah.
When your fridge is watching you, I mean, what can we do? We gotta take it back. We can turn it around. I know we can. With Christ at the helm. Hey, Joy, I appreciate you, man. Keep up the good fight, brother. We're gonna finish this. We're gonna do the outro, and you can hang out here in the back if you want, and we can talk more after this. But we're gonna end it here, and just peace out, everybody. Hope you all the best. Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you next time here, Roundtable Media.
You walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. Not a future that will be, but one that might be. This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
I was born into a system constructed for failure. It's a sinking ship being manned by drunken sailors. And escape artists behind the bars of a jailer. And a smarter attack and they withhold the inhaler. If the shoe doesn't fit, what good is a tailor? In the midst of this crisis, please cancel the gala. Without a symphony, there's no need for a prelude to foreshadow what's to come. See, the secret committees commence with their meetings to make red tape in response to simple questions. Questions threaten the perception of a beneficial system or pyramid scheme with its cogs and its pistons. Mechanization of man, making more and more living a miserable existence. How can so few claim so many victims? This begs the question. My arrest is a weapon against the oppression of man's obsession.
My conscience is captive to the word of God.
Our freedom is yours by right. It's in us, and in our actions on this day.
I don't believe in resistance.